Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Usnala Karim. We are from Group 1. For the person of the Group 1 is Sergei Aryanugraha, Danimau, and Exoverdian. Okay, for the first presenter is Aryanugraha. For the Aryanugraha, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Rusdan, for the moment. Okay, the first there is background. Background is different cultures prioritize different things. There are developed into two. The first is individualistic and collectivistic. Individualistic is cultures value personal achievement, and collectivistic is cultures prioritize growth, harmony, and more. This can influence how people approach conflict, expand more understanding these frameworks, like hostile of culture dimensions, can helpful about your navigate their situations. Cultures also have different communication style and more. Sometimes cultures are more direct, while the others and more indirect, more being aware of this difference can help you avoid misunderstanding. For instance, a collectivistic culture might prioritize maintaining harmony in communication, even in means avoiding directly expressing disagreement. Some cultures prefer to confront issue head on while others prefer avoid the conflict altogether. Recognizing these prefers from can help you choose the most appropriate approach in particular situation. And second, there is intercultural conflict cultures being run by factors. People from individual cultures approach conflict directly to achieve personal goals, while the collectivistic cultures prioritize good harmony and indirect communications. For the example, there are for French cultures is often viewed as the individualistic cultures because it emphasizes on self-expression, freedom of thought, and freedom of speech. France is regarded as a country that upholds strong principle of individual human rights as the evidence by history, revolution, and alignment philosophy. And the second example for the collectivistic, there is my country from the Africa. There is group solidarity, a sense of responsibility towards the communicate and strong traditional customs are characteristic of various African countries. There is the working together or common interest is also important value in the collectivistic cultures in Africa. There are like different way of talking about the conflict by understanding there's differences we can avoid misunderstanding and work together. And the next culture with conflict license. Imagine people come from two different teams, the I teams and the we teams. The I teams like to get things done directly and focusing on winning. They care about their own idea and solutions. The we can follow values working together and keeping everyone happy. They look for solution and work for everyone involved. These are like different way of thinking about conflict by understanding these differences can avoid misunderstanding and work together better. And the second and the third, ah, there is intercultural workplace conflict guard, and this is the example individuality and lower power distance. This approach emphasizes preference for communication and findings object solutions. Example include the higher meditation or team discussions. And the second is individualism and high power distance. Employees can voice concern about the manager, hold on the focus on performance and achieving goals. And the third, collectivism and high distance. Managers act paternal figure pertains harmony, indirect the communication and focus on maintaining relationship are key. Collectivism and lower power distance is collaborate decision making and shared responsibility are value the focus on building consequence and group trust. And last is intercultural conflict perceptions. From the example, there is Hurricane Katrina. The pages highlight the study where black and white participants interpret new about the Hurricane Katrina differently. Blacks is attribute the disaster of consequence government negligence due to the affected population being predominantly black. This demonstrates how cultural background shape how we perceive our situation. This highlights the important acknowledge and cultural diversity, understanding its how shapes our perception and respond to crisis. Recognizing this difference can lead more inclusive and effective approach disaster management and response effort. For the next presenter is developed by Rusdan. Rusdan, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dandi. Okay, for the next page is preserve scare resource. The fifth cultural background factor perception of limited resource. The fifth factor influencing intercultural conflict negotiation is the perception of limited resource. This resource can be tangible or intangible, such as time, money, energy, or knowledge. Strategy of addressing limited resource is expansion, actively seeking alternative solution or creative way to increase the amount, type, or use of available resource. For example, two people waiting to create music and design their own CD cover can learn to combine their artistic and musical talent for mutual benefit. And then compensation, offering enhance or concession for aspect of the conflict that each person value differently. For instance, if one person wants to play a CD at their drum party that night, they call over money to the other person to compensate for the time and effort needed to buy another CD. For the next material is intercultural conflict process factor. Point A is defining conflict style. For the example is they are employee 1 and employee 2. For the employee 1 is direct communicator. Cultural origin. This communication style is often associated with individualistic culture, such as those found in Western Europe, North America, and some parts of Asia. In these cultures, individuals are encouraged to express their opinion openly, take responsibility for their action, and value personal achievement. For employee 2, harmony seeker is cultural origin. This communication style is prevalent in conflicted cultures such as those found in East Asia, Latin America, and parts of Africa. In these cultures, individuals prioritize group harmony, maintaining relationship, and avoiding conflict. They often use indirect communication to preserve social harmony and avoid causing offense. For point B is cross-cultural conflict style. For example, is on US is individualism. Sarah, a high school senior in the US, is passionate about marine biology. Despite her parents' suggestions to law, a more practical and lucrative field, Sarah is determined to pursue her dream career path. For example, on China is collectivism. Li Wei, a high school senior in China, excelled in math and science. His family, particularly his grandparents, and emphasized. For number C is cross-ethnic conflict style and fast work. White Americans typically focus on finding solutions and keeping emotions separate from the problem. African Americans may be more likely to consider the emotional side of things along with finding a solution. The next material is flexible intercultural conflict skill. A fast work management fast work skill are crucial in addressing the core issue of protecting our communication identity. During conflict episodes, they allow us to maintain our communication identity while simultaneously respecting the communication identity of the other conflict party. Why is fast work is important? All humans value feeling respected and accepted, expressing during vulnerable conflict interaction. How individuals protect and maintain their self-fast need, and how they learn to respect the fast need to the other conflict party, can vary greatly from culture to the culture and from one conflict situation to another. This point B is mindful listening. Why is it mindful listening? Mindful listening is crucial skill for fast validation and power sharing during conflict. In this situation, the parties involved in the dispute shall make a consequence effort to listen attentively to cultural and personal assumption expressed in the interaction. Okay, point C is cultural empathy. Cultural empathy is like saying the words through someone else's eyes. It has two parts. They have understanding and responding. On the understanding, you try to truly get what someone from a different culture is feeling in conflict. For the responding, you show you understand them by using words and gestures that make sense to their culture. Here are some tips for cultural empathy. They have 5 points. For the first point is check yourself or for bias. Imagine you have blind spots that might affect how you see the situation. The second is forget stereotype. Don't assume you know how someone feels based on their culture. Ask for the clarification for number third. Make sure you understand their perspective before responding. Number four is take time to listen. Don't rush in. Give them space to explain their feeling. Number five is reflect back their emotion. So you understand by summarizing their feeling in a way that makes sense to them. Point D is mindful reframing. Mindful reframing is a way to see conflict from a different perspective, like looking at the old painting in the new frame. It informs using language to change how people view the conflict and make it more collaborative. Here are some tips for reframing conflict. For the first tips is focus on common interest of difference. And second, turn complaint into request. On the third, focus on solving the problem together instead of blaming it together. Number fourth, look for win-win solution. And the last is consider the big picture and where solving the conflict is important. And on point A, E is adaptive code switching. Imagine you're visiting a new country. Intercultural code switching is like learning to custom there to fit in. There are two levels of this, basic and advanced. For the basic is you learn some basic things like how to greet people or what to eat. This is like learning a few key phrases in new language. On the advanced, you start to understand the deeper meaning behind the custom and how they fit together. This is like becoming fluent in new language and understanding the culture. People who are good at this can switch between their own culture and the new one, depending on the station. This can be helpful in things like business or making a friend abroad. Okay, for the material third is Excel. For the Excel, the time is yours.
Yes. Okay. The next material is difference breakdown of the employee conflict scenario. Okay. Difference employee conflict scenario in analysis. Materi gue. Differences employ conflict scenario analysis in multicultural terms. Differences in communication styles can cause conflict but also offer opportunities for growth. And okay, the passage describes a situation where a team from different cultures has trouble communicating about a project deadline. For example, one person is directly is, dir- is direct and wants to talk openly about issue, and then the next is another person avoid conflict and wants to keep things harmonious, and then the other person defers the authority to make decision. These differences these differences can lead misunderstanding, but they can also be a strength if everyone is willing to learn from each other. Here are some tips for better communication in a multicultural team. The first is talk openly and listen actively to each other, and then appreciate that there are different ways of communication. and then work together to solve problems. By understanding cultural differences, teams can build trust and work more effectively together. And then the next material is framework in deserve real world scenarios. This explains how a framework can help people from different cultures work together better. The first is framework teach people how to communicate, resolve conflict, and understand each other's cultures. And then the next is this is useful in international business where people from different countries need to work together. And then the framework can be used to train employees, managers, and even CEO. And then the last point is by understanding cultural differences, people can avoid misunderstandings and work more effectively together. The next material is ethnocentrism and communication. Ethnocentrism is a way of thinking that puts in your own culture in in the center and sees other cultures as inferior. It's like looking at map where your country is giant and important and other countries are tiny and unimportant. Here are some reasons why people might think this way. We believe our way of life is the best and everyone else should follow it. And then where more comfortable things will familiar to us. This kind of thinking can be lead to problems like making fun of other cultures, not being interested in learning about other cultures, thinking people from other cultures are weird or wrong. There are ways to overcome ethno, ethnocentrism. Learn about the older cultures, travel to new place, and meet people from different backgrounds. And then the next is stereotypes and communication. Stereotypes are like shortcuts in our brain to categorize people. They are often based on guesses or oversimplifications and can be positive or negative. For example, someone might stereotype athletes as strong, but not all of athletes are strong. And then stereotypes can lead to problems. We might judge people unfairly based on stereotypes, and then we might miss out on getting to know someone too interesting because of a stereotype. Here are some things to keep in mind. Not everyone in a group is the same, and then try to get to know people as individuals. And then stereotypes we are what. The media shapes how to we see people from different cultures is often shows stereotypes like Native Americans always being warriors or Latins being a criminal. This can be bad because it's not always true. There are better ways to show people from different cultures, like showing kids so with character who speak different language. We all stereotype a little, but it's important to be flexible. Instead of thinking an entire group is one way, we should be open to meeting people and learning they are different. This way can be understand each other better. And then conclusion. The last point is conclusion. In conclusion, understanding and managing intercultural conflict requires a nuanced appreciation of cultural differences in communication and style values and power dynamics by recognizing the different approaches that individualistic and collectivistic cultures bring to conflict resolution. We can better navigate this situation empathically and effectively, implementing strategies and that take cultural background factors into account, such as adapting communication style and addressing power imbalance, and can produce more equitable and sustainable outcomes. Additionally, practical application is a variety of real-world scenarios underscores the importance of cultural awareness and cross-cultural choosing of fostering increased collaboration and understanding in multicultural enforcement. Through this through this effort, we can improve our ability to resolve conflict and build stronger, more more inclusive communities.
Okay, that's all for my VA presentation. Great topic leader. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.